things a little bit more. If they go for Cyclones, and, you know, of course, if they're going for Hellbats, you're going to want to go back in that Roach and that Ravager.
Down here in the bottom right, MVP and Boxer, the Archon Terran. Let's make some noise. And, okay, here we go. Over here in the upper right, Nesty in yellow. Let's give it up for the Archon Zerg.
Right.
So, Artosis, you and I grew up watching Yellow and Boxer.
Indeed.
Back when we lived in different parts of the States. Before we even met in person, studying them and learning from them. And then when we started careers as casters in StarCraft 2, we got to see Nesty and MVP discover, you know, how Wings of Liberty was going to operate and teach all of us. So this is a real treat to be down here and have these two great teams paired up in a game that, I mean, you, I, nobody watching, even these two guys here don't fully understand, but that's what's so fun about it, is that we get to learn and see the beginnings of that.
Yeah, just to put this in perspective, guys, this is not an exaggeration at all. Boxer and Yellow made all of the foundations of Terran and Zerg in StarCraft 1. MVP and Nesty made those foundations in StarCraft 2. So to watch them, you know, try to test out, being the early champions of those games, try to test out Legacy of the Void, which I sometimes refer to as StarCraft 3 because it's so different from Heart of the Swarm. I mean, that is a treat indeed. These are some of the smartest, best players when a game is young.
You know, what's interesting about this, too, is we don't normally see, when you meet a lot of StarCraft players, you and I can agree to this, we didn't play a lot of team games growing up, right? We wanted to play by ourselves and have it rest on ourselves. So this is going to be interesting for them, see them interact. And already, by the way, here with the Reaper Ras, great control there by Boxer coming in there now.
Reapers, straight up, that is a buff to the Reaper, that mine. So it is going to be a little bit harder in Legacy of the Void to keep your stuff alive against Reapers, which is a good thing because normally at our top pro games we see no drones killed every time.
It also seems like, you know, the Reaper can actually shove back the Queen to allow the Reaper to escape again and come back in, which is pretty important because occasionally Reapers get zoned into a corner and then picked down.
Yeah, and, you know, it's based on where the mine explodes, it's very predictable where the units will go from it. It always works in the same exact way if they're right next to it. I can't wait until we see someone with like 10 Reapers move a Queen into the middle of the map. It's going to be hard, but someone's going to do it.
Yeah, it could happen.
And I will watch that GIF every day.
Looks like the Reapers might be trapped here. Going up onto the high ground. Got to be careful. Looks like these Lings are going to close in. Will the last one get away? And it does.
All right, well, oh, and it tries to get away again, and it does. And it tries to get away, it does not.
Pretty crazy. And that's the kind of micro you can see when one player's back at home doing all the production, the other one's out doing all the controlling.
Well, right now we do have some Hellions out on the map as well. Definitely not the same unit as the Vulture, but something that Boxer definitely can use to some great extents. Get some damage done on that drone line perhaps coming up.
Let's also keep in mind with the positions here, well, hold that thought. I was going to say maybe we'll see a different build here, but now we see double engineering base. So that tells us we should have a very different approach here from our Terran players, focusing much more on bio.
Well, I tell you, that's really what Boxer's bread and butter is. This guy is like the original Marine King, okay? He is the one who learned how to micro Marines and get the most out of them in StarCraft 1. So to watch him use that here again, that's going to be awesome. In
but hold on, this is pretty crazy. We got a Nidus network coming up here.
That's right. The Nidus worm has been changed as well. When it is hatching in your enemy's base, or I guess wherever you really want to put it,
yeah, sure,
it can't be targeted. So no matter what, it will finish. And they have to make the choice. Do they kill what's coming out, or they try to target it down?
And this can be a big threat, you know, especially if you're one of these Terrans that are turtling, because initially it was so easy to just stop a Nidus from coming into your main if you were just being vigilant. But now it's going to be much tougher, and that might change the whole way that Terrans have to turtle. They may be forced to engage a little bit more.
Well, right now we do have that Nidus worm going.
Oh, that's a cute location, too. That's just out of the way of everything, close enough that it could be a total disaster here for MVP Boxer.
Yeah, they have no idea, and you go. They know now. They're not sure exactly where it is, though. And looks like you're going to start popping out these queens, lay down some creep tumors, get that creep spreading. Of course, creep spreads quicker in Legacy of the Void, just like it goes away quicker. So definitely something to keep in mind here.
Well, it looks like Nesty Yellow should be able to actually isolate the MVP Boxer here from that third base for sure, but with the Ravagers coming in here, he can actually start poking into the expansion. There's really not a lot that I think Terran can really do at this point in time, at least if they're teching into bio. It's almost like they get to function like siege tanks the Ravagers do.
Well, he definitely killed that SCV dead, but has to go home right now to defend against these Hellions. Doesn't want to lose a whole bunch of drones. And in the meantime, those queens taking a lot of damage. Someone does grab them and moves them back. In the meantime, these Hellions will get cleaned up, but that is a lot of creep at the front of MVP Boxer's base.
And the Hellions can't really do any more damage. They've been cleaned up, so all you have to do now is relocate. And you see, okay, no, he's just transferring those drones. I thought he might be doing something crazy, sending them through and doing some kind of a spine crawler push with us. But no, he's going to go ahead and then push these back out of the Nidus and actually just start assaulting the bunker. And this is a real problem. You look at the amount of damage this does. The bunker can't do anything.
Yeah, indeed. And, you know, Corrosive Vial actually has a very quick cooldown of 7 seconds, so you're going to be able to use a lot of that. And even if SCVs are repairing, of course, you can target where those SCVs are standing. That's something we've seen pros trying nowadays during these Roach Ravager busts. But in the meantime, we do have these Marines coming out, picking off that Nidus Worm and nothing's around, and will clean up this creep as well.
Nicely done here. We have scans going down the creep, and I think that was a smart move there. Good communication by Nesty Yellow to deem that strategy not working anymore.
Good pullback for sure.
Yeah, because if there was any disagreement there, that would have just completely fallen apart. Now they're not giving up, but I believe MVP Boxer with the combined instinct, aware of that coming there, nicely timed out, gets that. Meanwhile, an attack over here at the top center.
A lot of damage being done here to that third base location. All those drones being cleaned up. The hatchery looks like it may be going down as well. Roaches and Ravagers coming in to try to push them back, but it looks like it could be too late.
Just in the nick of time. The hatchery's taken out. Now making a beeline over here to the second base. Keep in mind, Zerg, no matter what version of StarCraft you're playing, a Zerg on 2 base against a Terran on 2 base is never a good sign for the Zerg unless the Zerg intends to win in like the next 2 minutes.
No, it certainly is not. And, you know, this is very Boxer-esque, right? He flies in, kills the hatchery right before you stop him, flies out, hits somewhere else again, trying to wrestle over the place. Ooh, nice move there by the Ravager, using that Corrosive Vial, taking out some units there as well as a medevac.
All right, stimming coming up here now. And looks like the medevacs are just going to go ahead and loop back up and hide up into the main. And this is a really cool technique here. If you could time that out right, which unfortunately wasn't done by Nesty Yellow, you could definitely hit units that are trying to chase you.
Yeah, it's actually such a cool ability. It has so much, like it zones a lot, it does a lot of damage if you use it just right, you know, which is very hard. I think it's a high skill cap spell to cast. But it definitely can have a lot of impact on the game.
And the drop again coming over here. I think one problem the Zerg team might be facing, that's Nesty Yellow, is that you know, the Ravagers, even though they're very strong, you can't split them up. It's not like a bunch of lings, right? So Terran can really outrun the Zerg most of the time in this situation, with especially with boosted medevacs.
Yeah, they can, and we see another drop going off here into that main base. Another small change that I should mention to you guys is the Marauder now has a double shot, which is just like a slight nerf. It means that basically like armor is a little bit better against it because it'll reduce 1 more damage per shot.
Yeah, that actually adds up, especially when you get to the higher levels. By the way, that hatchery not going down.
Yeah, good save
MVP
there.
Boxer deciding, you know what, it might have been a little bit tougher to calculate due to the new changes in the game, but better safe than sorry. Picks back up and relocates. As long as Zerg is staying busy, Terran can focus on getting you know, the third base up and running healthy and then economizing that further.
That's right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what is Yellow ST going to try next to kind of get out of the situation. I love the fact that they're adding in Corruptors right now to go with the Roach Ravager. It's a very powerful composition at the moment, or it was in the beta that was just stopped and prepped for the launch. But they also have a new ability, the Corruptors. They actually have something called Caustic Spray, which deals a lot of damage, but has a very long cooldown, and it works on your opponent's building. So they definitely can become harassment units if they're kind of being worthless paperweights at the moment, which is a nice change.
And now an attack up here over in the center. Now Zerg's going to have to hold on to this base. He might want to get his army back over together here. So far, solid defense there by the Raptors. Really nicely done, taking that out. Definitely an overextension there by MVP Boxer. And dude, that's one thing, especially if you're in Archon mode and you have two Terran players controlling one Terran. When do you stop harassing and when do you keep going forward? Because everybody is a little bit different. Some people are overly aggressive, but they make it work. Some people are more conservative. And that might be the balancing game right now that MVP Boxer and or MVP Boxer are facing.
Well, we do see the caustic spray coming out now from these corruptors, and it is pretty cool to see indeed. It does only 7 damage per second for 4.3 seconds, and then goes up immediately to 35 damage per second. So you have a little bit of time to react to it, and if you don't, it is going to wreck everything.
Yeah, and that's going to be a problem right now. It looks like MVP Boxer a little bit preoccupied trying to get this harass working, and there's not a lot they're able to do with the corruptors coming in there. Also, important to note, Zerg at a fairly healthy supply lead right now, 161 to 141. Not much mobility here for Terran, and possibly not any more starports if they're not careful.
Yeah, definitely could be the case. We're going to go ahead and see those corruptors fly away for the time being. Definitely has to be careful to keep cleaning up Medivacs. Doesn't want to take any more damage there. But right now, the 4 bases of MVP Boxer is really overshadowing what Yellow and SC have at those 3 bases. They're going to need to get some more economy going.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's getting a little bit scrappy here. Again, bases in Legacy of the Void mine out much faster because you start out with more workers. So you have to stay on the expansion game. I know in Heart of the Swarm, we got pretty comfortable seeing players occasionally park on 3 bases for a pretty long amount of time, but that's not the case here in this game.
Yeah, definitely not. You have to expand so quickly in Legacy of the Void. It's really a very fast, high-paced game. And, a lot of harassment has been the norm of what we've seen when pro players have been trying this game out so far. But as of right now, we see a lot of Lings and Banes being made. Some battle cruisers as well. Would love to see some of those tactical jumps from them.
Nice decision to back out there by the corruptors for Nesty and Yellow. Looks like we also have a small attack possibly coming up here. Yep. Up here in the top center, as well as a drop over here. Let's see if Nesty Yellow can split their multitasking and defend them both.
Well, right now, stemming into this 4th base area. That is such an important base for Yellow. Nesty not able to get it up. In the meantime, they do run over here with another drop. We have those corruptors coming back, so it shouldn't do too much damage.
Looks like they're handling it just fine, and this is what's really interesting, is if you can just balance out who's doing what in this game, you can almost play, I guess you can get closer to that perfect game, right? Especially if it goes for defense or offense here, but very cool to see that, Nesty Yellow doing a pretty good job of putting it together. That being said, MVP Boxer are just doing a fantastic job of consuming the map. I don't know if that's more MVP or more Boxer, but if you just look at the bottom of the screen, despite all battles, if there are that many more bases being acquired by Terran and Zerg can't contest it, Zerg is going to lose.
Yeah, it becomes very, very tough indeed, but they have some good upgrades coming. They have a decent amount of units on the map, and the supplies are pretty close for the time being, so maybe they can get something done here, but those battle cruisers that are being made are going to be pretty scary as long as the corruptors don't snipe them.
Yeah, that will be an issue. Over here, once again, Terran just doing great, keeping that upper left quadrant of the map. Not a resource location that Nesty Yellow can actually mine from. But nice job coming here. Oh, we have some corruptors versus battle cruisers here. Good find here by Nesty Yellow.
Now, it looks like they will pick those off. Very expensive units indeed, so really bad to lose. And now starting to lose some Medivacs. A little bit of lack of attention here, despite the fact that they have 2 players on their Archon team. But nice snipes there by Yellow and ST.
Yeah, very nicely done. It seems like Nesty Yellow going to try to take one of the closer expansions over here. A little bit more pushable for MVP Boxer, although pushing hasn't been much of the game, at least this round here, as far as how they're approaching it. They've been doing a lot more drops, but I think MVP Boxer may have to transition into that pretty soon. In the meanwhile, though, that is a lot of Banelings, and it's possible Nesty Yellow will be gearing up for a huge attack in just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely could be. That is a lot of Banelings. Now, we do see a lot of Marines being unloaded right there. Might be seeing a fight pretty quickly coming up. The Corruptors flying around, doing some harassment as well.
Kind of crazy how much damage those Corruptors are actually doing. It doesn't seem like Terran has, at least for now, an easy way to chase them down and move them out. And therefore, these expansion locations, which would normally be a little bit easier to hold, are actually becoming a huge problem right now for MVP Boxer.
Well, they're doing some harassment all all over the place, starting to get some damage done here. A nice place for those Marines to stand, really limiting the surface area of those Zerglings attacking them. Meantime, Banelings and Lings coming up, dealing with this